Welcome back, focused learners. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here for another explainer. Today, we are stepping right onto the factory floor and then straight into the boardroom to examine the high-stakes, rigorous world of environmental management. We're going to explore the true architectural mechanics of ISO 14001:2026 auditing. I want you to think of this explainer like a high-end corporate documentary where we uncover exactly how an organization proves, under intense scrutiny, that its environmental, quality, and safety systems actually work.
Okay, let's dive into this, because this is literally the fundamental question every single auditor asks. How do organizations prove their environmental commitments aren't just empty promises? I mean, anyone can write a beautiful sustainability policy and slap it on a glossy brochure, right? But an audit moves us completely beyond the paperwork. It takes us straight into the discovery of verifiable truth. We are out there looking for tangible, concrete proof that an organization is actively controlling its environmental risks and continually improving. To understand exactly how this works, we're taking a micro to macro journey today. We'll cover the foundation of verifiable truth, classifying audit nonconformances, root causes and corrective action, and finally, advanced integrated management audits.
So let's kick things off with part 1, the foundation of verifiable truth.
Every credible, defensible audit begins with a microscopic look at the facts on the ground. An auditor absolutely cannot rely on assumptions or a manager's good intentions. The cornerstone of the whole thing is objective evidence. This is verifiable information. We're talking about a calibration record for a volatile organic compound sensor, a signed statement from a line operator, or maybe a direct real-time observation of how lead-acid batteries are being segregated. The key here? Completely avoiding subjective interpretation. The evidence must be factual, reproducible, and rock solid so that any findings can withstand intense scrutiny from regulators and stakeholders.
Now, you might be thinking, auditors can't possibly check every single record or watch every single process. And you'd be right. So they use risk-based sampling strategies to balance efficiency with reliable evidence collection. For instance, they might use judgmental sampling to zero right in on a high-risk chemical storage area. They use random sampling to ensure completely unbiased checks on routine documents. Stratified sampling helps them evaluate training across different departments or shifts. And systematic sampling allows them to pull data at defined intervals to spot trends over time. It's a highly calculated approach.
Moving right along to our next structural level, Part 2, classifying audit nonconformances.
So what happens when that objective evidence we just talked about actually reveals a gap? When the reality on the floor just doesn't match the standards requirements, the auditor has to accurately evaluate its systemic significance. And this brings us to a really critical distinction: major versus minor nonconformances. A major nonconformance is a total systemic breakdown. It's a failure that directly threatens environmental outcomes, legal compliance, or the core functionality of the management system itself. Think of something major, like completely failing to monitor toxic wastewater discharges. Now, a minor nonconformance, on the other hand, is just an isolated implementation lapse. The system generally works, but there's a hiccup. Like, say, an employee knows the spill response procedure perfectly, but their training signature happens to be missing from the file.
When an auditor does find a gap, they have to write it up. And the construction of a defensible, non-conformance statement needs 4 very precise parts. It's kind of like a recipe. You have the requirement, the observed condition, the objective evidence, and the clause reference. Basically, you state exactly what ISO 14001 demands, you state the factual deviation you observed, you provide the verifiable proof, like those missing calibration records, and then you link it directly back to the standard. This exact structure ensures the finding is bulletproof, ready to withstand challenges from the organization or scrutiny from the certification body.
All right, let's look at Part 3, root causes and corrective action.
This phase right here is the true improvement engine of the audit. Identifying a deviation is really only half the battle. If you don't fix the underlying reason it happened in the first place, it's just going to happen again. Let's walk through the life cycle of a corrective action request, or a CAR. First, the nonconformance is identified by the auditor. Second, the organization has to perform a rigorous root cause analysis. Third, they actually implement a corrective action to fix it. And fourth, and honestly this is absolutely crucial, there must be effectiveness verification to prove the fix actually worked. This life cycle is where an organization proves its resilience and its commitment to continual improvement.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the breakdown of common root causes.
Notice how operator error isn't really the focus? That's because root cause analysis has to dig beneath those surface symptoms to find the systemic vulnerabilities. Are we seeing deviations because of a 30% gap in competence and training? Is 25% due to ineffective procedures that are literally impossible for the workers to follow? Are communication gaps causing 20% of the issues? You have to ask why multiple times until you hit those foundational organizational weaknesses.
And finally, that brings us to Part 4, Advanced Integrated Management Audits. Let's pull all the way back to the macro level now. This is really the climax of our explainer. If we dive into Module 30, Chapter 1, we see that modern organizations rarely just implement an environmental system in a vacuum. They integrate it with quality and safety. This integration is completely made possible by the high-level structure, or HLS. This harmonized framework is adopted across all modern ISO standards, perfectly aligning the clauses for context, leadership, planning, and operations. It is a total game changer. It allows an auditor to evaluate shared elements, like leadership commitment and risk management, across multiple disciplines, all at the exact same time, enabling truly unified corporate governance. Picture this in your mind's eye. Imagine a stunning 4K resolution corporate documentary. We are right there on the floor of an advanced industrial manufacturing plant. The integrated audit begins with ISO 14001:2026. It's a dynamic montage. The auditor is evaluating live emissions controls, checking the strict segregation of hazardous waste, and verifying that pollution prevention mechanisms are operating exactly as designed. But the auditor isn't stopping there. The montage continues. On that exact same production line, at the exact same time, they're evaluating ISO 9001 for quality management. They're conducting a simultaneous inspection of product conformity. They are verifying precision manufacturing metrics and ensuring that the safeguards meant to guarantee customer satisfaction are fully operational right alongside those environmental controls.
And to complete this incredibly dynamic picture, we add ISO 45001 for occupational health and safety. While checking the chemical containment for the environment and the precision of the product for quality, the auditor is doing real-time worker safety evaluations. They are assessing hazard controls, ensuring workers have the right protective gear, and verifying emergency response protocols. It is a perfectly synchronized, three-dimensional assessment of organizational excellence happening right there in real time.
So, the crucial point is, the value of this integrated auditing approach is just massive. It creates streamlined corporate governance. It allows for consolidated risk registers where environmental, quality, and safety risks are prioritized holistically. It harmonizes documentation, so you don't have three entirely different manuals for one single process. And it allows for cross-functional training evaluations. These integrated audits transform what used to be separate regulatory burdens into one single cohesive engine for operational excellence.
As we wrap up today, I really want you to focus on this quote. Corrective actions must be not symbolic, but transformative, shifting an organization from reactive compliance to proactive sustainability. This right here is the absolute core philosophy of ISO 14001:2026. Audits aren't just about finding faults or checking boxes on a clipboard. They are ultimately about empowering continuous, systemic organizational learning. Every single finding is an opportunity to become better, safer, and much more sustainable.
I'll leave you with this final, provocative question to reflect on. How resilient is your own organization's accountability architecture? If an auditor walked onto your floor today to look for verifiable, objective evidence across environment, quality, and safety, what exactly would they find? I hope this explainer has given you the investigative mechanics you need to look at your own systems with a sharper, more analytical eye. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey, and as always, keep learning.